Have you ever found yourself in a situation where, from a workplace standpoint, you feel that you're doing all the right things? You are getting into that hustle, you're getting into that grind, you are burning your midnight oil, and you're doing every possible thing that one could imagine, yet you feel that you're stuck. Let me give you another perspective. From a workplace standpoint, you feel that the only individual or the stakeholder who is responsible for your own growth or your own development is your manager and nobody else. And you are extremely and highly dependent on that individual for your own growth and development. And today, I'm going to introduce you to an aspect which is extremely important when you think about your own career growth and trajectory. So do stay tuned till the end of this video, because I'm going to leave you with something concrete which is tangible as a framework that you can apply in your day-to-day lives. And by the way, let me tell you, not many would have shared this with you. Well, the reason why I chose this particular topic is because I myself have gone through this kind of a period where I felt really stuck. The Mondays, the Tuesdays, and the weeks were extremely intense. And I had this sense of hope that probably this is going to feed into my own growth and trajectory. But it was about a year and I felt like, nothing is moving. There is no steer to the direction that I intend for. Of course, when you go through this phase where you feel like you are stuck, what would you do? You typically either vent it out to your friends or one or two people here and there, your family members, etc. But does it do good to you? I mean, you can be left with a few perspectives here and there, probably a bit of a pity here that you would get when you share your frustration. Probably you reach out to your manager, but you keep getting back the comment that, we will circle back on this, we will touch base on this, we will figure this out, but nothing really tangible, nothing really concrete comes out. And essentially it goes into that spiral whirlwind where you feel exhausted and drained. And by the way, the other aspect that I have seen or witnessed is that, because you want to grow so fast, because you want to have that trajectory of upwardness, what you end up doing is you play yourselves at two ends of the spectrum. One end where you probably go for any and every opportunity that is out there and drain yourself out completely. The other end of the spectrum is you keep contemplating which opportunity is actually the right one for you or appropriate for you. Should you not? You keep getting succumbed into this whole aspect of feeling stuck, frustrated, not experiencing any movement. And eventually, the easiest decision that many take is they quit. And they think that they have solved the problem. But let me tell you, that doesn't happen, because if you quit and you get to a new space and everything remains the same, you will experience the same stuck feeling in a 2 years timeline or a 3 years timeline. And that's what we are going to break today, and that's what we are going to demystify for ourselves and kind of take back strategies or frameworks that will help us to navigate this challenge. So the question is, how do we really go about this? What do we really do? Have you ever heard about boardroom? Now imagine an organization, and all organizations have their board members, and there is a boardroom. What really happens in that boardroom? Simple answer, there are different perspectives, there are different viewpoints that come in for what? For that particular organization to grow, stay ahead of the curve, deliver to the clients, be better. There are a lot of talks around culture, people, dynamics, operations, etc. Right? Now, if you zoom yourselves out and look at it at a broader level, what's really happening is in that boardroom, there are different viewpoints that are coming in, different expertise that are coming in order to elevate the organization and the people of the organization. And that's where the interesting concept lies, which I'm going to share with you. Imagine you have your own personal boardroom. Imagine you have several stakeholders who are focused in elevating you. How would that be? If I have to put it in a different way, think about it. Take a step back and ask yourself, when you think of your growth and development, how many people or stakeholders are involved for that? My bet is the first name would be your manager. But what about the others? Do you have someone who kind of advocates for you when you're not present in that space? Do you have someone who kind of consistently challenges you by asking the right questions? Do you have someone who helps you to expand your network and provide you the visibility? And do you have someone who kind of mentors you for the short-term skill development that you would need? And by the way, when you think of this boardroom concept for yourself, the personal boardroom, you need to be really mindful of who these stakeholders, of not only who these stakeholders will be, but most importantly, understand what impact they can have on you. When should you be really leveraging their support, and most importantly, how do you really engage? Because trust me, when I came across this learning and a concept, the biggest challenge for me was, how do I even really reach out to someone and ask them something, right? And at times I would debate with myself thinking that, Kostav, do you have to be so intentional in order for your own growth? Isn't that cold? Isn't that transactional? And there comes the dichotomy, and there comes the moral dilemma that I faced. That, oh, am I only reaching out to this person because I know I can get something out of it? Well, before I get into the framework, let me break the stereotype here for you right now. Well, you can think about it to be manipulative, and that's a fair point. I give that to you. The difference between building a supportive ecosystem and being manipulative is reciprocity. What does this mean? Manipulation will always be a one-way street. You only get, but you don't give back. When we talk about this reciprocity, that is a two-way exchange value, you aren't only using these people. Rather, you are leveraging their expertise and building a relationship that fosters for value. And that's where the line gets drawn, right? From a different perspective, think about it in this way, right? It is also for these experts, these people who you would identify in your personal boardroom as those stakeholders who can elevate you. It's a way for them to pay it forward. And that's how we as humans build that community, which a lot of people miss. And if you get into this trap of the moral dilemma, trust me, you will never be able to overcome it. You will not even be able to open yourself out and ask for it. Because half of the times when we keep it within ourselves, we miss out on an opportunity. And hence, thumb rule 1, always ask for it. And you can only do that when you understand the difference between manipulation and the reciprocity. This is where the key learning of personal boardroom comes in, which I call as your compass board. And if we are talking about the compass board, let's actually get to a whiteboard and understand this better. Let's get started in understanding what is this compass board, and how can you and I apply it to our lives. By the way, this is something that I've practiced over years, and it has helped me in many ways. You're seeing are the 4 quadrants of your compass boardroom, which we are calling as our personal boardroom. Now, each of these quadrants represent 4 key stakeholders that are non-negotiables, that you need to have in your lives to ensure that intentionality with your own career growth and trajectory, and to get away from the dependency only of your manager. Right? So let's take it one by one. Number 1, the sponsor, your advocate. Now this is extremely important, and I've broken it down for your own understanding. You can pause and take notes. Okay, so now who are we calling as the advocate? Who are we calling as the sponsor or the advocate? Someone who is an influential leader in your circle of sphere. And most importantly, believes in you. That's important. What is the impact that this individual will have on you and your career? Number 1, air cover. It means that this person will give you insights on what's coming up at a broader level, at a 30,000 feet level from a strategic standpoint, and will give you a visibility in terms of how you can play a role, right? For you to stay ahead of the curve. Additionally, this is the person who will give you extreme amount of high visibility. Imagine your work is viewed by only limited folks at a certain level, but you have someone at a much higher level who is talking about you in your absence and about the efforts that you have done in a different group, in a different circle. That's the visibility that creates an impact. Question is, that's where your nuances will come into play. You can always have an advocate for yourself, but you need to know when to leverage their expertise and support. When you think about your sponsor, when you think about your advocate, you need to think about them when you're thinking of your career acceleration. This typically comes in when you would have spent about 3 to 4 years in your own remit of work and you are thinking of the next level. That's where you need an advocate. It's an imperative. Next question, the most important, that's where I faced challenge. I was like, hey, can I just reach out and ask someone to be my sponsor or my advocate? It won't work like that. You need to foster that relationship and show that this is what you're capable of. The next one is the mentor. Who is your guide? Now let's again look into this. Who is going to be your mentor? How do you really identify someone as a mentor? Well, someone who has about 2 to 10 years of experience in the same line of work that you are in. If you are looking forward to build skills and navigate immediate challenges, the short-term project aspects, you need to have a mentor. You need to have that guide. When to leverage a mentor's expertise? Essentially when you're starting in a role, or let's say you're starting in a project which is complicated, right? That is where a mentor's role will come into play. To engage with your mentor, you need to be specific with your asks and always, and this is I would say the best practice, always report or follow back with the actions that you have taken from the interaction and the results that you have achieved. The challenger, and this is my favorite, right? This is also someone who is your growth agent. You don't need people who always praises you. You need someone who can ask you the candid and the right question to make you think. Right? You need not have someone who always has the answer, but has the ability to make you think and figure out answers on your own. That's what a challenger does. Now, in your workplace, who is a challenger? Well, someone who trusts you, and also vice versa, you trust them, and they value your growth. They understand your potential and they want to see you grow. Impact that they can have. They can actually stress test your plans. You share them your plans and they can actually give you perspectives which either could be a blind side for you, right? And because there is a trust, there is a strong sense of trust. Now, how to engage? The best way to engage is by seeking feedback and by seeking validation from these people, by showing them the work and seeking validation. The last one is the connector, the opportunity multiplier. Well, quite often I've seen that this aspect gets missed out and many people get stuck where they are only because they did not have someone who can connect them to different opportunities, expand their visibility. Right? Now, who is this individual? Someone who is a social hub, someone who can expand your current network, who can give you, who can bring you into the different circles, different spheres, different networks, etc. Impact. It can gain you high visibility and exposure. When to leverage the expertise of a connector or an opportunity multiplier? Consistently. I think this should be a practice. That is why we keep getting feedback that, be visible, right? Be out there. But you can't do that on your own because there are too many things that happen around you. So you need that multiplier and someone who also motivates you, who helps you during your burnout situations. How to really engage them? Well, when you are seeking for exposure, seeking for inspiration, you need to have an eye of someone who has that access and leverage their expertise to help you build that. Yeah. In case you are wondering, how is the visibility by a connector different from the advocate? Well, advocate will talk for you. The connector will bring you into the space. That's the difference. In case you're thinking a difference between a mentor and a challenger, well, challenger is bigger perspective. Mentor, short-term, project-based, will help you with the skill building, will help you with the navigating the immediate challenges. Now, when you think of your compass board, when you think of your personal boardroom, You need to ensure that you have an advocate or a sponsor, you have a mentor or a guide, you have a challenger, your growth agent, and you have a connector, the opportunity multiplier. And imagine you walk in to the week knowing that these are the several stakeholders, these are the times that you can seek their support, advice, expertise. This is what you can bring back to them with your potential and capacity. What will really stop you from your own trajectory of growth? Imagine your manager and your skip level manager getting views from 4 different stakeholders and their circles and their networks talking about you, the impact that you would have created. And that is something which is an imperative skill which nobody teaches, and we need to ensure that we have the framework to kind of apply it into our lives and drive it for ourselves with intentionality. Feeling stuck is an awful feeling, but it's not a life sentence. You have the power to navigate through it, one relationship at a time. Career Compass Board is just not a nice thing to do. It's a strategic imperative for navigating today's complex workplace growth and development. I want you to think about these 4 roles: the sponsor or advocate, the guide or the mentor, the challenger or your growth agent, the connector or the opportunity multiplier. Which out of these 4 do you think you are missing right now? Identify it. And then I want you to list 3 people for that particular role from your circle of influence, from your circle of control. Don't overthink it. Just brainstorm. Just put it into paper. They could be people you know well, acquaintances, or even someone who you admire from afar. Just get it down, write it down, and then do what? Take that first step to set up some time and get into a conversation. Well, I don't have to teach you about how to build relationships. I think you do it well and you are enough for it. But it was just a push to give you the framework and the strategic lens that you can take back and apply into your day-to-day lives. Go for it and let me know in the comments, what do you think? What worked? What did not work? Do subscribe to the channel and do share. Like this video. This is your host Kaustav. I will see you soon. Till then, take care of yourself. Take care of people around you and take those small steps to be a better human being. And always remember, you are enough. Thank you for being there.